My sister Veronica claimed she was brutally honest until she got drunk at our 5-year-old cousin's birthday and made him cry by saying his mom didn't love him enough to make a homemade cake, so her boyfriend dumped her on the spot. Then she got revenge by filing false CPS reports that nearly destroyed our entire family and got my aunt's ex-husband to pay her $15,000 to help him steal custody, while she also stole $8,000 from our dying grandmother. But the real kicker is she only got probation and now sells online courses about escaping toxic families. My big sis Veronica was the biggest liar I knew, but she claimed that no one in the world was as honest as her. During dinner, she would start listing down people who got fat or lost weight. We never added to her convo, not only because it was annoying, but because she insisted that we should be keeping it real just like her. Once she thought it was real, to tell me that my skin looked worse than a donkey who rubbed its on a cactus. I ignored her in faux realness. We were all used to her BS. TBH, I was happy to stop inviting her to all future family functions, but my aunt insisted on inviting her, promising that one day she'd grow out of it. Boy, was she wrong. For our baby cousin's birthday one year, she texted into the family group chat asking if she could introduce us to her boyfriend, Jake, for the first time. Since Veronica was so horrible, I assumed he would be the same. I was down to straight up reject her request, but everyone replied before I could. And with my family being so welcoming, they of course said yes. SMH. He seemed nice at first, the type of guy to say hi to the pet dog before greeting anyone else, to hold open every door for you, but I never stopped being suspicious. The birthday boy, Marky, was adorable. He was dressed in this little blue onesie that had balloon designs all over it, and he didn't cry once. He just wanted a hug and to play peekaboo. Our whole family showed up for it. My uncles, my loud aunts, my divorced parents, everyone, all for Marky. It was held in one of those kids' party places that have everything. Arcade, bowling, laser tag, ball pit, the works. But somehow, Veronica had managed to sneak in alcohol. We were all sitting eating pizza that tasted like plastic when I noticed she was inebriated. Actually, all the adults noticed, because not only could you smell it on her breath, but she was speaking like she knew everything about how the world worked. Jake sat beside her in the tiny orange chair as she raved about what a genuine person she is, and explained why our cousin was wasting her time in community college. Literally the definition of tooting your own horn. I practically leaped for joy when the birthday cake came around, because it meant Veronica finally shutted the F up, LOL. Or so I thought. Everyone was gathered round singing happy birthday, while 5-year-old Marky clapped his little hands. My aunt brought out this adorable dinosaur cake she picked up from the grocery store. As soon as we were done singing, Veronica stood up to make a toast. Well, kinda. Oh my gosh, you can't even make him a homemade cake. Do you even love him? Her words were slurred, and she gestured with her red Solo cup. Plus, these decorations look like you raided the dollar store clearance bin. If you're going to have kids, at least put in some effort. The other parents froze. Some kids stopped eating their pizza mid-bite. My aunt's face went red. Veronica kept going. I mean, I'm just being honest here. Pinterest exists for a reason. This is just sad. Suddenly, she was interrupted by the sound of Marky bursting into tears. It was that heartbroken wail kids do when their world falls apart. Auntie Veronica says Mommy's cake is bad, he sobbed. Mommy, why didn't you try? Jake stood up so fast, his chair tipped over. Veronica, pass me my stuff. We're done here. She laughed, still swaying. What? No way. I haven't even had cake yet. There's no we anymore. He interrupted and turned to face her directly. I just watched you destroy a 5-year-old's birthday party. What kind of person does that? My uncle actually whispered, wow, from across the room. My cousin pulled out her phone. Veronica's jaw dropped. Babe, come on. I was just trying to help. Kids need to learn about standards. Standards? Jake's voice cracked. He's 5. He thinks his mom hung the moon, and you just told him she doesn't love him enough. The whole room watched like it was a movie. My aunt was still trying to calm down Marky, whose dinosaur shirt was soaked with tears. You're seriously breaking up with me? Here? Over this? Veronica's voice pitched higher. Jake walked over to my aunt and handed her a $500 bill. For the party. I'm sorry we ruined it. Then he turned back to Veronica. Find your own ride home and delete my number. He headed for the exit. Veronica stood frozen for maybe 3 seconds before reality hit. She grabbed her purse and ran after him, heels clicking on the arcade floor, yelling something about overreacting. Dad muttered, good for him. Marky finally stopped crying long enough to ask, is the mean lady gone? She was, and we never saw her again. Until a week later, that is. Because that's when my aunt got a knock at the door. It wasn't Veronica. It was CPS. Someone had called in an anonymous report about alcohol being served to minors at a child's birthday party, and neglectful parenting. The 2 CPS workers stood at my aunt's doorstep with badges and thick folders. Marky peeked around her leg, clutching his favorite dinosaur toy. The lead worker, a stern woman with gray hair pulled back tight, explained they'd received serious allegations about alcohol being served to minors and child neglect at a recent birthday party. My aunt's hands shook as she fumbled for her phone. The workers insisted on conducting an immediate home inspection. They pushed past her into the house, already taking photos of everything. Marky's room came first. Clean, organized, filled with educational toys and Disney decorations covering every wall. The gray-haired worker scribbled notes, muttering something about excessive decorations being a sign of overcompensation. I got the frantic call 20 minutes later. Racing over, I found my aunt crying at the kitchen table while the workers photographed inside her refrigerator. Marky stood confused in the doorway, asking why the police ladies were looking through their things and taking pictures of his toys. The questioning revealed disturbing details. The workers knew exactly what brand of alcohol Veronica had smuggled in. They knew the color of the Solo cups. They had specific information only someone at the party could have provided. When they interviewed Marky, he innocently innocently mentioned Auntie Veronica's special drink that made her mean. The workers exchanged glances, writing furiously. Our family group chat exploded within hours. Every parent who'd attended Marky's party received calls from CPS, threatening investigations into their homes. My uncle discovered Veronica's Facebook page. She'd posted a cryptic status. Some people shouldn't have kids if they can't even throw proper parties, with a wine glass emoji. I screenshotted everything before she blocked our entire family. Her new profile picture showed her alone, holding a glass of red wine. Jake texted me privately that evening. His message made my blood run cold. Veronica had been spiraling since their breakup. She blamed our family for turning him against her and had been talking about revenge. He warned me to be careful, that she was capable of anything when she felt wronged. The next morning, a CPS supervisor arrived to discuss serious concerns about a family gathering where a minor was exposed to intoxicated adults. My aunt tried explaining that Veronica was the only hammered person, that she'd snuck in the alcohol, but the supervisor kept referring to their comprehensive report about systematic neglect. Then came the devastating blow. My aunt's ex-husband, Marky's father, received official notification about the CPS investigation. Within hours, he filed for emergency custody, citing an unsafe environment and exposure to substance abuse. The man who'd barely seen Marky in 2 years suddenly cared about his well-being. The pieces clicked together. Veronica's revenge wasn't just petty, she was systematically destroying my aunt's life. An innocent child might lose his mother because of a vindictive woman's need for retaliation over a birthday party confrontation. Veronica's best friend Tanya reached out to me through Instagram. She felt guilty and needed to confess. The week after the party, Veronica had spent hours researching mandatory reporter requirements and anonymous tip laws. She'd taken detailed notes about how to file reports that would trigger automatic investigations. Tanya had thought it was just venting until the CPS visits started. Our family discovered Veronica hadn't stopped with CPS. She'd called the party venue claiming there had been underage drinking at the event. Their business license was now under review. The manager's daughter went to school with my cousin, and word was spreading fast through the community. 3 more family members reported CPS visits. Veronica had submitted multiple reports, each with slightly different allegations to ensure maximum coverage. My mother, a nurse for 15 years, faced a professional review board after an anonymous complaint accused her of enabling child endangerment by attending a party where alcohol was present near children. The financial strain hit my aunt hard. Legal fees for the initial custody hearing already totaled $3,000. Veronica knew my aunt was a single mother working 2 jobs to make ends meet. I watched her sell her grandmother's jewelry to pay the retainer fee, tears streaming down her face as she handed over the heirloom necklace. Marky's behavior changed dramatically. He started having nightmares about being taken away and wouldn't let my aunt out of his sight at school drop-off. He clung to her legs, sobbing that he didn't want the mean ladies to come back. Other parents watched with pity and whispered among themselves. Jake revealed more disturbing information. Veronica had kept detailed notes in her phone about every family member's weaknesses and past mistakes. She'd researched everyone thoroughly. My father's old DUI from 15 years ago appeared in the report about him. The way Veronica weaponized CPS against her own family makes my heart pound with fury. Watching little Marky cry about being taken away from his mother while she sells her grandmother's jewelry just to fight for him is absolutely crushing. Every small transgression, every human mistake, weaponized for her vendetta. The situation escalated when Marky's school counselor called my aunt. Marky had told his class that police might take me from mommy. The counselor, as a mandatory reporter, was considering whether this warranted another CPS call. The system Veronica had set in motion was becoming self-perpetuating. I saw Veronica at the courthouse the following week. She was filing a restraining order against our family for harassment after my uncle left her an angry voicemail. She walked past me without acknowledgement, her heels clicking on the marble floor, a satisfied smirk playing at her lips. My aunt's lawyer managed to obtain a leaked copy of the CPS report. It contained complete fabrications, claims that children were running unsupervised during the party, that adults were too intoxicated to provide proper supervision, that the environment was chaotic and dangerous. All lies, but presented as official observations. The birthday party venue's security footage could have cleared everything up. It would have shown Veronica as the only intoxicated adult, sneaking in alcohol, making a scene. But mysteriously, a power surge the night before the subpoena corrupted all the digital files. The backup system had malfunctioned as well. Veronica's co-worker reached out to my cousin. She'd been bragging at work about teaching my family a lesson about honesty and consequences. She claimed we'd learn what real accountability looks like by the time she was done. Her co-workers thought she was joking until they saw the news about the CPS investigations. The custody battle began in earnest when Marky's father arrived with his lawyer and new fiancé. They claimed my aunt was unfit, based solely on the CPS investigation. The man who'd paid child support late for 3 years suddenly presented himself as the concerned father, ready to provide a stable home environment. I created a fake social media account, using an old email address to monitor Veronica's online activity. Her posts in various estranged family support groups painted us as toxic abusers who'd turned her boyfriend against her. She'd even posted Marky's birthday photo with captions about witnessing child neglect at a toxic family gathering. The comments section filled with sympathy and encouragement for her brave stance against enabling relatives. My aunt received notice that she needed to complete parenting classes and submit to weekly substance tests despite zero evidence of substance abuse. use. Each class cost $75, each substance test $50. The financial bleeding continued exactly as Veronica had planned. I watched my aunt calculate expenses on napkins during her lunch breaks, her face growing more haggard each day. Veronica's next move targeted my workplace. HR called me in after receiving an anonymous complaint about my violent temper and concerns for coworker safety. The complaint referenced a college incident from 8 years ago where I'd been in a fight, though charges were dropped. My supervisor looked uncomfortable as she explained they needed to conduct a full investigation. My promotion prospects evaporated overnight. Marky's teacher called my aunt after he told the class that Daddy says Mommy's in trouble. This triggered yet another CPS inquiry, this time for potential parental alienation. The system Veronica had weaponized kept generating new investigations from every angle. Each professional who interacted with Marky became another potential reporter. Through Jake's sister, who worked at a law firm, we discovered Veronica had hired a private investigator weeks before the party incident. The PI had been photographing my aunt's home, documenting when she arrived late from her second job, when her brothers visited to help with childcare. Normal life activities twisted into evidence of instability and inappropriate supervision. The custody evaluator assigned to the case had a reputation for favoring fathers in custody disputes. My aunt's lawyer suspected connections between the evaluator and Marky's father's family, but proving bias would cost thousands more in legal fees. The deck kept stacking against my aunt through perfectly legal channels. I wrestled with whether to confront Veronica directly. My lawyer advised strongly against it, warning that any contact would support her victim narrative and strengthen her harassment claims. But watching my family crumble while she orchestrated our destruction from behind legal protections felt unbearable. Jake reached out with recordings he'd made of Veronica discussing her revenge plans before their breakup. She detailed exactly how she'd use the system against us, but the recordings were made without her consent in a two-party consent state. Using them could result in criminal charges against Jake and make them inadmissible anyway. My cousin received notice that her college had received an anonymous tip about substance use at family parties. Her academic scholarship came under review. She had to submit to substance testing and provide character references. The investigation found nothing, but the damage to her reputation on campus was done. Veronica started seeing a therapist, strategically creating a paper trail of being victimized by our toxic family system. When her therapist's notes were later subpoenaed, they painted a picture of a woman traumatized by relatives who couldn't accept her commitment to honesty. The therapist had never verified any of Veronica's claims or spoken to family members. CPS workers interviewed my aunt's neighbors about the household. One elderly neighbor mentioned seeing frequent male visitors, referring to my aunt's brothers who helped with childcare while she worked. This innocent observation became part of the official record, suggesting inappropriate activities in the home. The stress took its toll on our elderly grandmother. She suffered a stroke after a particularly difficult day of watching my aunt sob over legal documents. As paramedics loaded her into the ambulance, I saw a card arrive at the hospital the next day. Thoughts and prayers from Veronica. My grandmother's last coherent words before slipping into a coma were about how Veronica was destroying everything. The connection between Marky's father's new fiancé and Veronica finally surfaced. They'd been sorority sisters in college. Photos on old social media accounts showed them at parties together. The coordinated attack on my aunt had been planned long before the birthday party incident provided the perfect trigger. Veronica reached out through her lawyer offering to mediate the family conflict. Her terms were simple. My aunt would need to admit her mistakes as a parent and drop any attempts to fight the custody arrangement. In exchange, Veronica would stop filing reports. It was pure extortion wrapped in legal terminology. My aunt refused the mediation offer. Within 48 hours, a new CPS report appeared claiming Marky had shown signs of physical discipline. The allegation required another full investigation, more interviews with Marky, more trauma for a little boy who just wanted his normal life back. The private investigator Veronica had hired approached me outside a coffee shop. He'd grown uncomfortable with how his surveillance was being used. For $5,000, he'd provide evidence that Veronica and Marky's father had been meeting regularly to coordinate their custody grab. He showed me photos of them at a restaurant, exchanging documents. Our family pooled resources to pay the PI. The evidence he provided was damning. Emails between Veronica and my aunt's ex-husband planning the custody battle before the birthday party even happened. They'd been waiting for any excuse to trigger their plan. Veronica had promised to destroy my aunt in exchange for the ex-husband paying off some of her debts. Jake's sister did more digging at her law firm. She found records showing Veronica had consulted about suing our family for defamation weeks before the party. The birthday incident wasn't spontaneous. She'd been planning to create a situation that would let her play victim while destroying us. I discovered the root of Veronica's behavior through old family friends. After our parents' divorce when she was 13, she'd changed dramatically. Therapy records from that time showed a therapist noting her tendency to weaponize truth as a control mechanism. She'd learned that brutal honesty could hurt people while maintaining plausible deniability. The CPS supervisor reviewing the case admitted privately that there were inconsistencies in the reports, but once investigations were triggered, they had to follow protocol regardless of suspicions about false reporting. The system protected itself more than the families it was meant to serve. My aunt started fighting back systematically. She documented every interaction, recorded every allowed conversation, and caught one CPS worker making prejudicial comments about single mothers always having issues, small victories in a war of attrition. During Marky's testimony in a child-friendly courtroom setting, setting, he mentioned that Daddy promised him a new Xbox if he came to live there. The judge noted potential coaching, but the damage was done. A 5-year-old's innocent words twisted by adults manipulating him for their own ends. Research into Veronica's employment history revealed she'd been fired from 3 different jobs for creating hostile work environments. Each time, she'd used her radical honesty to tear down co-workers until the workplace became toxic. The pattern was clear. She destroyed environments she couldn't control. We found Veronica's anonymous blog where she detailed her version of events. In her telling, she was a truth-telling hero standing up to a family of enablers and abusers. She twisted every family memory, every shared moment, into evidence of dysfunction. The blog had a small but dedicated following of people dealing with their own family issues. Veronica's turning family court into her personal chess game where every move is calculated to cause maximum damage. She's basically playing Monopoly, but instead of buying property, she's collecting restraining orders and CPS reports like they're Pokemon cards. Jake agreed to testify about Veronica's drinking problem and manipulation tactics despite her threats to ruin his career. He'd kept detailed notes about her behavior, including her admission that she enjoyed teaching people lessons they'd never forget. His testimony could be crucial, but Veronica's lawyer would tear him apart as a bitter ex. My investigation into Veronica's finances revealed she owed over $40,000 in credit card debt. The ex-husband had promised to pay it off if she helped him get custody. Her honesty campaign was funded by desperation and greed, not any moral principle. A local newspaper picked up my aunt's story as part of a series on false CPS reports. The public attention helped shift opinion, but also intensified Veronica's efforts. She couldn't stand losing control of the narrative she'd crafted so carefully. Veronica panicked as her story unraveled. She filed reports with my professional licensing board, claiming I had an unstable family history that made me unfit for my job. She used my grandmother's stroke as evidence of the family's dysfunction, claiming we'd stressed an elderly woman into medical crisis. Marky drew a picture during therapy of the mean auntie who made mommy cry. His therapist recognized that the child's trauma stemmed not from his home life, but from the chaos Veronica had created. Professional opinion was shifting, but bureaucratic wheels turned slowly. The judge ordered an investigation into potential collusion between Veronica and the ex-husband. My mother revealed she'd been recording all phone calls with Veronica for years, legal in our one-party consent state. The recordings painted a picture of escalating manipulation and threats. Veronica's desperation led to new lows. She called elderly relatives claiming I was abusing my grandmother's finances while she was in a coma. This triggered an elder abuse investigation and questioning of my aunt's power of attorney. The hospital restricted our family's visitation rights pending investigation. Using the restricted access, Veronica posted on social media about the family hiding grandmother's abuse. She shared photos of my grandmother from happier times, asking for prayers and suggesting dark secrets. The post went mini-viral in local community groups. Marky accidentally mentioned Mommy's lawyer friend to his father, meaning a family friend who'd given a referral. This became twisted into accusations that my aunt was hiding assets or receiving unreported legal assistance. Every innocent comment became ammunition. My promotion at work officially died when HR concluded their investigation. While finding no evidence of workplace issues, they cited unresolved family situations as a concern for someone in a leadership role. Veronica's accusations had achieved their goal even without proof. Bank records subpoenaed for the custody case revealed my aunt had spent Marky's college fund on legal fees. The very instability Veronica claimed existed had been created by her false reports. The irony was lost on no one except the legal system that enabled it. The ex-husband's fiancée announced her pregnancy to the court, arguing they could provide a stable 2-parent household unlike my aunt. Veronica had helped write their statement, her manipulative touch evident in every word designed to wound. Security footage caught Veronica placing flyers on cars at Marky's school. The flyers warned parents about my aunt's child endangerment and ongoing CPS investigations. The school restricted my aunt to supervised pickup only, meaning she couldn't enter the building or attend school events. Marky's confusion broke everyone's hearts. He didn't understand why Mommy couldn't come to his classroom anymore, why he had to meet her at the office with other adults watching. His innocent questions had no good answers that wouldn't destroy his trust in adults. I faced an impossible choice between paying for my grandmother's care and helping fund my aunt's legal defense. Veronica had created a situation where protecting one family member meant sacrificing another. The psychological warfare was precisely calculated. Banks denied our family's home equity loan application due to ongoing legal issues. Even financial institutions became weapons in Veronica's campaign. Every avenue for fighting back was systematically closed by the very system meant to protect families. Jake's crucial evidence was ruled inadmissible due to recording consent laws. Veronica had known this when she spoke freely around him about her plans. She'd studied the legal system carefully, understanding exactly how to exploit its protections while avoiding consequences. The temporary custody ruling came down on a Thursday afternoon. The judge granted Marky's father temporary custody pending final hearings. My aunt collapsed in the courthouse hallway as a social worker prepared to take Marky. His screams echoed through the building as they separated him from his mother. I noticed Veronica's car in the courthouse parking lot. She sat watching from across the street as Marky was loaded into his father's vehicle, still crying for his mommy. The satisfaction on her face was chilling. She'd orchestrated this moment perfectly. That night, I found my aunt in her bathroom with a bottle of pills. She'd written a note saying she couldn't fight anymore, that maybe Marky would be better off without a mother who'd failed to protect him. I called called 911 while wrestling the pills away, holding her as she sobbed that Veronica had won. While my aunt fought for her life in the ICU, Veronica posted on social media about praying for family in crisis and hoping everyone would find healing. The performance of concern while she celebrated her victory privately was sociopathic in its calculated cruelty. The hospital's psychiatric ward had strict visiting hours. My aunt spent 72 hours under observation while Marky adjusted to his father's apartment. I drove past their building each morning, watching the windows for any sign of my nephew. The ex-husband's fiancé posted photos of their new family on Instagram, Marky looking confused in every shot. Veronica's social media activity increased dramatically. She joined more support groups, shared articles about toxic family dynamics, and posted motivational quotes about surviving abuse. Each post garnered dozens of supportive comments from strangers who believed her fabricated narrative. I documented everything, building our own evidence file. My mother discovered Veronica had been calling her workplace repeatedly, asking receptionists about patient confidentiality policies and mandatory reporting procedures. The pattern was clear. She was searching for new angles of attack. We warned every family member to secure their professional information. Jake's sister found more disturbing information through her law firm connections. Veronica had consulted with 3 different attorneys about potential lawsuits against our family. Each consultation ended when lawyers realized her claims lacked merit, but she kept searching for someone willing to take the case. The local news story about false CPS reports aired on a Tuesday evening. My aunt's case was featured prominently, though names were changed. Within hours, Veronica's employer received multiple calls about their employees' involvement. She was placed on administrative leave pending investigation. Other families reached out after seeing the news segment. Veronica had destroyed 2 previous co-workers' lives with similar tactics: false reports, coordinated attacks, systematic harassment. One woman lost custody of her daughter for 6 months before proving the allegations were fabricated. The pattern stretched back years. My aunt was released from psychiatric hold but faced new restrictions. Supervised visits with Marky were limited to 1 hour weekly at a sterile visitation center. She had to submit to continued substance testing and therapy sessions. Each requirement cost money she didn't have, funded by selling furniture and taking out payday loans. Veronica's desperation escalated when her employer terminated her position. She blamed me publicly, sending messages to my coworkers claiming I'd orchestrated a smear campaign. My HR department opened another investigation, this time into whether I was creating a hostile work environment by defending my family. The ex-husband began realizing his mistake when Marky refused to eat, sleep, or engage with his new family. The boy spent hours staring out the window, asking when mommy would pick him up. Teachers reported behavioral regression, bathroom accidents, violent outbursts, complete withdrawal from activities he'd previously enjoyed. I accessed Veronica's email through an old shared Netflix account we'd forgotten to disconnect. The inbox revealed correspondence with my aunt's ex-husband dating back months. They'd planned everything meticulously, waiting for any opportunity to execute their scheme. Veronica had promised to destroy my aunt's credibility in exchange for $15,000 to pay off her debts. The emails also exposed Veronica's communications with a paralegal who'd been feeding her information about CPS procedures and trigger phrases that would guarantee investigations. She'd paid him $500 for a detailed guide on weaponizing the child protection system. Every move had been calculated. My grandmother passed away without most of the family present due to the ongoing investigations. The care facility only allowed 2 visitors at a time, heavily monitored. Veronica attempted to attend the funeral, arriving with a lawyer who claimed she had rights as a family member. Security removed her after she tried to access my grandmother's personal effects. Bank statements revealed Veronica had been slowly draining my grandmother's accounts using old authorization forms. Small transfers over months totaled nearly $8,000. When confronted by bank security, she claimed my grandmother had promised her the money for emotional damages caused by our family. Wait, how did Jake know to keep such detailed notes about Veronica's behavior before any of this started? The fact that she actually told him she enjoyed teaching people lessons they'd never forget makes me wonder what warning signs he noticed that made him start documenting everything so carefully. The forensic accountant we hired discovered Veronica had opened credit cards in my grandmother's name weeks before her death. The purchases included expensive jewelry, designer clothes, and restaurant charges. Identity theft charges were filed, but Veronica claimed she had verbal permission that couldn't be disproven. Marky's therapist submitted a report to the court detailing the severe psychological damage caused by the custody change. The child showed signs of trauma consistent with forced separation from a primary caregiver. He developed selective mutism, only speaking to ask for his mother. The therapist recommended immediate reunification. The judge ordered a review hearing after receiving multiple professional opinions about Marky's deterioration. The ex-husband's lawyer argued that adjustment periods were normal, but even they couldn't deny the visible decline in the child's well-being. Marky had lost weight, developed dark circles under his eyes, and stopped playing entirely. Veronica made a critical mistake when she attempted to contact Marky directly. She showed up at his school claiming to be an authorized pickup person. Security footage captured her trying to convince staff she was listed on emergency forms. The school resource officer intervened, and she fled before police arrived. This violation of school security protocols triggered an automatic police report. Veronica was charged with attempted custodial interference and trespassing on school property. Her bail was set at $5,000, which she couldn't pay after losing her job. She spent 3 days in county jail before a bondsman covered it. The criminal charges changed everything. The ex-husband husband realized his association with Veronica could jeopardize his custody case. He filed a restraining order against her, claiming she'd manipulated him into the custody battle. His sudden reversal exposed the conspiracy, but also highlighted his willingness to use his son as a pawn. My aunt's lawyer successfully petitioned for emergency custody reconsideration based on new evidence. The judge agreed to an expedited hearing after reviewing Marky's medical records, showing weight loss, sleep deprivation, and psychological distress. The system that had failed my aunt began slowly recognizing its mistakes. Veronica's fraud trial proceeded quickly due to the clear evidence of identity theft. She represented herself after no lawyer would take her case pro bono. Her defense consisted of claiming mental health issues caused by family trauma. She wore my grandmother's stolen jewelry to court, seemingly unaware of the irony. The prosecutor presented a decade-long pattern of destruction. Former co-workers testified about hostile work environments. Ex-boyfriends described similar manipulation tactics. Even her old college roommate appeared, detailing how Veronica had filed false reports about her to academic authorities. The jury saw a clear pattern of malicious behavior. During her testimony, Veronica claimed her radical honesty was a coping mechanism for childhood trauma. She demanded sympathy for being misunderstood, insisting she'd only wanted to help our family improve. When pressed about the stolen money, she claimed it was compensation for emotional damages we'd caused. The guilty verdict came after just 2 hours of deliberation. Veronica was convicted of identity theft, fraud, and filing false reports. The judge noted the particular cruelty of targeting an elderly woman and traumatizing a child. Sentencing guidelines suggested 18 to 24 months imprisonment, but the judge showed leniency. Veronica received 5 years probation, 200 hours of community service, and mandatory restitution for the stolen funds. No jail time beyond what she'd already served. She was also required to attend therapy and maintain employment. The slap on the wrist felt like another injustice after everything she'd destroyed. The family court reversed its custody decision after reviewing all evidence. My aunt regained primary custody, though the ex-husband retained weekend visitation. Marky's reunion with his mother was documented by the court. He ran to her arms and didn't let go for 20 minutes, sobbing with relief. Recovery wasn't instant. Marky required months of therapy to process the trauma. He couldn't sleep alone, fearing someone would take him away again. My aunt installed multiple locks in a security system, checking them obsessively. The hypervigilance became their new normal. Veronica violated her probation within 3 months by attempting to contact me through a fake social media account. She sent messages blaming me for ruining her life, threatening to expose more family secrets. Each message was forwarded to her probation officer, building a case for violation. The probation violation hearing resulted in 90 days incarceration. Veronica spent her time in county jail writing letters to various authorities, claiming she was a political prisoner targeted for exposing family corruption. The letters were forwarded to her probation officer, extending her supervision period. Upon release, Veronica moved across the state to live with a distant relative. She started a blog about surviving narcissistic families and rebuilding after trauma. The posts twisted our story beyond recognition, painting herself as a whistleblower who'd been silenced by powerful family connections. My aunt struggled to rebuild her life. The legal bills totaled over $30,000, forcing her into bankruptcy. She worked 3 jobs to provide for Marky while managing the ongoing trauma. Trust in systems meant to protect families was permanently shattered. Every knock at the door triggered panic attacks. Other victims of Veronica's schemes reached out for support. We formed an informal network, sharing resources and validation. The group included former co-workers, ex-boyfriends, and distant relatives who'd experienced her destruction. Together, we documented patterns and warned potential future targets. 2 years passed before achieving any semblance of normalcy. Marky still asked why his aunt had been so mean, why she'd tried to take him away. My aunt explained in age-appropriate terms about how some people hurt others when they're hurting inside. The simple explanation couldn't capture the complex cruelty they'd endured. Veronica's blog gained a small following among people estranged from their families. She monetized their pain, selling courses on breaking free from toxic family systems. The irony of her profiting from destruction she'd caused wasn't lost on us. We monitored but didn't engage, knowing any response would fuel her victim narrative. At Marky's 7th birthday party, security was tight. Guest lists were verified, no outside food or drinks allowed, and multiple family members stood watch. What should have been a joyful celebration carried the weight of past trauma. Marky insisted on a homemade cake, remembering his mother's tears from 2 years prior. My aunt documented every moment with photos and videos, evidence for any potential future attacks. The hypervigilance had become routine, keeping receipts, recording interactions, maintaining detailed logs. Veronica had taught us that family could be weaponized, that love could be used to destroy. The birthday proceeded without incident, but the shadow remained. Every family gathering now carried protocols and precautions. We'd survived Veronica's campaign of destruction, but the scars were permanent. Some wounds never fully heal, especially those inflicted by family who know exactly where to strike. Marky blew out his candles, surrounded by people who'd fought to protect him. The wish he made was simple, that the mean lady would never come back. We couldn't promise that, could only promise to remain vigilant. In the end, Veronica had taught us a brutal lesson about the power of weaponized honesty and the systems that enable those who would destroy lives under the guise of truth. Thanks for reading this story with me. I hope you have a wonderful day. I will see you in the next one.